Hi, third grade. We are going to continue talking about geometric solids, but this time we're going to get to construct some of them on our own. So we are combining lesson 99 and lesson 100 today because they flow really nicely with lesson 98 from yesterday. It looks like a lot of objectives, but I promise this is going to be a really fun lesson for us. So lesson 99 and lesson 100 on constructing prisms, cubes, and pyramids. The objectives are construct, compare, and contrast 3D models of rectangular and triangular prisms, cubes, and pyramids. Describe, compare, and contrast the characteristics of prisms and pyramids. Identify faces, edges, and vertices. Remember, vertices is just plural for vertex. Identify acute, obtuse, and right angles, and identify intersecting, perpendicular, and parallel faces. Those last two objectives are going to be tying in with previous lessons from quite some time ago. The difference is when we've talked about acute, obtuse, and right angles before, we have talked about them using rays, segments, and lines. Remember, acute smaller than 90 degrees, obtuse larger than 90 degrees, a right angle exactly 90 degrees. And then the same thing with identifying intersecting, perpendicular, and parallel faces. We have done intersecting, perpendicular, where it makes a right angle, and then parallel, where it would keep going on and on forever without touching. We have done that with lines, segments, and rays. We're doing it with faces this time. So it's going to be using something that you already know, just illustrating it in a different way. Now, for your worksheet, it's a two-sided worksheet. So if you do it electronically, it's 2 slides in Google Classroom. And I'm actually going to go over lesson 100 worksheet first because it reviews what three-dimensional means. And then I'm going to go over lesson 99 worksheet because I feel like it's more confusing to talk about a net first before we review what a three-dimensional polygon or a geometric solid is. And lesson 100 is the one that does that. So on lesson 100, it says constructing pyramids. Shapes that take up space are called geometric solids. Prisms like those we learned about in lesson 98 are examples of geometric solid. Pyramids are another kind of geometric solid. And then they showed you a picture of a rectangular pyramid. Remember, a pyramid is a geometric solid where the faces are triangles. The base can be a square or a triangle, and then it will have, 3 or 4 vertices on the base, but it's going to have just that one apex up top. Geometric solids have 3 dimensions. That's why we call them 3D objects. Length, width, and height. In lesson 98, I said length, width, and depth. Height and depth would be similar. So height just means, distance above a certain point. Depth would mean distance below another point. It's still showing 3 dimensions if you're using length, width, and height, or length, width, and depth. Then they have a couple of questions. This pyramid has a square base, so it's a rectangular pyramid. How many vertices does it have? Count the ones on the bottom, but don't forget to count the apex at the top. That is a type of vertex. This pyramid has a triangular base. How many faces does it have? So the rectangular base asks you about how many vertices. Triangular pyramid asks you about faces. Then which of these geometric solids is not a pyramid? They all have triangles in them, but one of them is a triangular prism, not a pyramid. And then it says, look at the bottom below, sketch a net of the solid. We're going to go over in just a second about what a net is. So there's 2 different ways that you can do this. You can, if you are doing the whole worksheet by hand and then just uploading the PDF, you can do that. If you were doing this electronically on Google, then you can just upload a picture where you drew the net on another piece of paper. Now we're going to talk about what that net is on lesson 99, which says constructing prisms. A net is an arrangement of polygons drawn on paper that can be folded to become the faces of a geometric solid. Picture a cereal box that has been cut along its edges so that it can lay flat. We can make models of cubes, rectangular prisms, and triangular prisms, and pyramids by cutting, folding, and taping nets of these shapes. Here is an example. They said the dotted lines on this net show where to fold it to construct the three-dimensional model below. What solid does it create? And so then on the following pages, you're going to see a whole bunch of these when we're constructing our shapes. They're showing you the solid lines on the outside. There's dotted lines in the middle because that's how you cut it. You're going to fold it. Then if we fold the net on the dotted lines, we construct a rectangular prism. So they're showing you the example of what this net would look like constructed as a three-dimensional shape. So questions at the bottom of lesson 99, how many faces does a triangular prism have? What geometric shape is the face of a cube? Both of those answers were given to you in the lesson 98 video. So you could either look back at the worksheets from yesterday, you could look at the nets on the following pages after we've constructed some of our shapes, or you could just go back and watch that video from yesterday too, and you'll get some free answers. Are the triangular faces of a triangular prism parallel or perpendicular? Are they parallel? Do they keep going on and on forever and they would never intersect each other? Or are they perpendicular? Do they match up and make a right angle? And then they say, look at the geometric solid below, sketch a net in the space at the right. And just like the pyramid worksheet, you can either do this entire worksheet by hand and then upload a PDF of your worksheet to the Google assignment. Or if you want to do the Google assignment electronically and answer 1, 2, and 3 in the boxes, you can just attach a net that you drew on another piece of paper to your assignment. Now, at the end of yesterday's lesson, I said you might want to work ahead and be ready to construct some shapes. There are pages, and now I only have half pages because I already cut these out after I recorded the last video, but they have rectangular prisms. They have triangular prisms, and you can see that these are all nets. They have pyramids. And then those are the 4 different pages that you have that you can cut out. Now, when you're cutting them out, you are going to cut only along the outside. Anything that is dotted, anything that's interior, anything that's shaded, you're not going to cut that off of the other shape. So I'm going to show you an example of one that's already cut out. So here I cut out the shape that was at the bottom half of this worksheet. And I cut only around the outside. So my dotted lines are not cut. My solid lines that are on the inside are not cut. My shaded parts are not cut. Now the shaded parts are the parts that are going to be inside. You are either going to be putting glue on the shaded parts, or you're going to be folding them and taping them. There's 2 different ways that you can be putting that together depending on what kind of resources you have at home. So my strong recommendation is that you fold every edge of your 3D shape before you start gluing or taping, because it's going to make it a lot easier to fold it when it's not connected to another side. Otherwise, you're just going to dent all of those sides in. So I'm going to put together a couple things for you. So here's an example of this is an example of a cube. If you wanted to have a little fun, you could color these shapes in before you fold them. Or with a cube, what we've done sometimes when we've done this activity in class is we've written numbers or made dots on it, and we've made a dice that we've used to do like 4 corners or something like that. That would be a great idea. And then maybe you can play 4 corners at home because you'll have your own dice there. So I folded every single side. If it was a solid line on the inside, I folded it. If it was a dotted line, I folded it. Any shaded side, I folded. I folded every single side on this already. Now what I'm going to do, and hopefully I can do it fast enough so that you can see it, is I'm going to put glue on all of the shaded parts, and your fingers might get a little sticky. That's okay. So I brought a glue stick home, and it's one that will write purple while the glue is wet before it dries. So I'm going to try to do this fast enough for you to be able to see how I'm putting the glue on the shaded sides. I'm only putting glue on the parts that are already shaded in. All right, so there is glue now. It's not showing up as well as I can see it. There is glue on all of these shaded parts. You are going to start by folding the side that has the most shaded sides of it. That face is going to get folded in first. So this one has 3 on it. I am going to fold that one in. And I'm going to fold in the shaded sides that I put glue on. Hard to see this. It's easier on the document cam, but we're making the best of it. Now, these 2 sides each have 2 on them. I'm going to fold them next. And this side is actually going to connect to one of those shaded sides. And now it's going to be stuck there because I've got glue on it. So this is connected to where I already had a shaded side with glue on it. And then now I've got all of these other shaded sides that connect, and I'm going to fold those in. My glue's starting to get dry. And now I'm going to fold in those other 2 sides so that they'll connect to those ones that have glue on them. So now I have a cube. Every single face is a square. And it started to dry while I was doing this, so I'm actually going to then stick some tape on it as well to help hold it together, because some sides are sticking really well. What you would do is, if you don't have glue, those sides that were shaded, you're going to fold towards the inside. So you can see this is coming off. But those shaded sides are still already folded in. And I'm going to put a piece of tape on it now instead. So one side I was quick enough to actually glue it. The other 2 that I folded in, I had to use some tape on. So that is a cube that I constructed. Any of these shapes that you are cutting out and constructing, you can upload pictures of those and attach them to your assignment when you submit your Google assignment, and it's going to count for an extra credit point for every shape that you make. Normally, if we were in traditional school right now, you would have to do 1 prism, 1 cube, and 1 pyramid, and then anything else beyond that would be extra credit. But I know that you don't all have scissors at home. You don't all have a way to print this paper off at home. So any that you do is going to count for extra credit. I'm going to do just a couple more so I can show you some more examples. Now this is another net that was already cut out. You can tell it's not going to be a cube because it's got some triangles in there. We'll see what shape this is going to be. This has less shapes for me to glue, or less sides, but I'm still going to start with the side that has the most shaded. So this face, or this is actually base, has 2. The rest of the ones that are shaded only, and this one has 2. So those ones are going to get folded in first before this one that has only the one side. So I'm going to put glue on it and see if I can be quick again. Maybe you can see that it's getting glued if you can see that I'm using a piece of paper so I don't get glue on my kitchen table. You can kind of see that I've used glue on that a little bit better. So the 2 sides I had, 2 shaded, I pre-folded them. They're going to get folded up first. Now, here's this one side that has only 1 Here's a space that has only one side that's shaded. I'm going to fold that up next. So now these two triangular sides are glued to this rectangular face. Then I'm going to fold that shaded part that has glue on it in, and I'm going to fold this other rectangular face down. And this one you could see when you cut it out. This one actually has an example of perpendicular faces. So this one, this face, and this face make a right angle. I could really have a square right in there if I wanted. And if I was going to keep this, I would need to put a piece of tape on that because that last side dried before I could connect the glue on that one. I'm going to put a piece of tape on that. So I've got as triangular bases, but not every side is a triangle. So this would actually be a triangular prism, but I'm going to do a pyramid next. So this is my last one I'm going to put together. I am going to start by folding in first this side that has the two shaded edges. Then I'm going to fold in the one with one shaded edge. Then I'm going to fold in the one that has no shaded edges. Now this one I cut, but I didn't pre-fold it. I am going to fold along each of these solid interior lines. So now those are all, that one was kind of crooked. I can do better than that. Now they're all pre-folded so I'll be able to connect them a lot faster, and hopefully then my glue is not going to dry on me. But I'm also going to fold in the shaded edges as well, because those are parts that are going to need to be folded once I put glue on them. And if it's folded first before I put the glue on it, it's going to be able to stick together a lot quicker. And then maybe I won't have sides that have dried glue on them, and I won't have to add tape at the end of this one. We shall see. I'm only going to need to glue 3 sides on this because it's a triangular pyramid. All right, now everything is pre-folded. I'm going to do my glue. Starting with the side that has 2. That's going to get folded up first. Then I'm going to fold in the side that has 1. Connect that, press that down. Then I'm going to fold in the side that has 0 shaded edges. And this one was a lot faster. This one actually, I'm not going to need to add tape to this. It's a triangular pyramid because the base is a triangle. And each of the faces are a triangle. And then it has that apex, that single vertex up at top. Now, you could construct all of these if you want, and then you would have your own set of manipulatives to figure out the answers for some of those problems on your worksheet. For example, number 2 on lesson 100 said, this pyramid has a triangular base. How many faces does the pyramid have? So I could take my triangular pyramid and I could count up all of the faces. Or I could look at lesson 99. Are the triangular faces of a triangular prism parallel or perpendicular? And here I have my triangular prism. I want to know, are these 2 triangular sides, are they parallel or are they perpendicular? So you can construct those and that might help you out a little bit, or you could go back and watch lesson 98 where I show you 3D examples of each kind of geometric solid. And then we won't have a math video tomorrow because it's Friday, so that's a chance to catch up on stuff from the week. but it's also Good Friday, so we wouldn't have school anyhow. And then it's Easter Monday, we wouldn't have school on Monday. So I will be back on Tuesday with investigation 10 on probability, and then we're going to use a dice for that. So if you wanted to make one of your cubes into a dice by putting some numbers or some dots on it before you fold it, you could then use that when we're doing the probability investigation on Tuesday of next week.